This is the show that pulls back the industry curtain. We're exploring pop culture, music icons, and food gods. It's the Jeremiah Show with Dr. D and Will Knox. Broadcasting from the HJL Hospitality and Evolve Studios in LA and KZSB AM 1290 and FM 96.9 Santa Barbara, or somewhere from the road. And now, Mr. Restaurant, Will Knox.
Will Knox, aka Mr. Restaurant, and this is show number 2 on the Jeremiah Show. Where are we? Well, we're in front of Pinyon in Ojai, California, which is my hometown. How did this come about? Well, here's how it went. The guys that own this place, one of the guys who you'll meet, has a mom. And the mom called my wife, Wendy, one day and said, "Do you know anybody that knows any restaurants available in Ojai? Do you know a restaurant broker maybe?" Well, Wendy said, "I happen to sleep with the guy." So here we are, finally open at Pinyon, Ojai, and let's meet the guys and understand how it all happened. Let's go inside. Okay, we're inside Pinyon, Ojai, and we're gonna meet those 3 people who were responsible for getting this thing launched and open. So welcome to Pinyon. Hello? Hello? Here's Mr. Restaurant. Here they come. Oh, there's Sally. And there's Jeremy. Hello. And we're waiting for the big man, Tony.
Or Tony.
Well, come on over here and let's sit down and have a chit chat. Sally, Jeremy, have a seat there.
I'm sitting there.
Because you're the head of the class. Because it was your mom who called my wife and said, "Who do you know in Ojai that maybe can help us find a spot?"
This is true.
So you have a third partner, and his name is Tony, and he'll join us shortly.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're with the crew of Pinyon, and Jeremy, I had met through your mom.
Yes.
Who called my wife
Infamous.
and said, "Who do you know that can help us find some real estate to open up a restaurant?" Tell us about that.
Yeah. So in the summer of 2020,
Yeah.
I was in the Berkshires with my roommates, former roommates from Brooklyn, and we were all thinking about our futures in this COVID landscape, and had been kind of furloughed from my job. And
Where were you working?
I was working at a restaurant called the Four Horsemen,
Four Horsemen.
which is a Michelin star restaurant and wine bar in Williamsburg. And I was just looking for new opportunities to do something that was a little more expansive than working on the line somewhere. And I started talking with Tony. Tony and I had met 8 years ago.
Yeah, briefly.
8 years ago at a...
But you didn't really know each other?
No, not really. My wife is close with Jeremy's sister.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
over
that
the
was
years-
the original connection.
Yeah, and over the years, I've grown close to Emily as well. Emily was like, one of 8 people at our wedding. She took the photos and made our wedding cake and
Well,
stuff.
the restaurant business, like life, is connections.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, and Jeremy was in the orbit a little bit because since Jeremy was on the East Coast, and so was I for a long time at that point, we always kind of tried to connect, and we kind of kept missing each other.
But we always kind of continued to build rapport. And then Tony started doing an Instagram live show once a week called Low Fam Live, where they were talking with bread bakers and community activists and people in the restaurant industry.
Wait. So your background is primarily bread and pastry and dough?
Not exactly. I grew up in a restaurant family, so like it was more like Italian joints.
Whereabouts?
South Jersey.
Jersey.
Yeah. And so I, worked in restaurants growing up as a kid. And even as I went to college, still worked in restaurants. And then kind of started catering my education around working in restaurants, around fermentation, around ecology, around human biology, all these different ways that we interact with food. And then fast forward a few years later, I was living out in the IE towards the desert, and that's when I started getting really serious about baking.
IE is Inland Empire.
Yeah, it's basically everything east of the San Gabriel Valley before you get to the low desert.
So certainly not Ojai.
No. But Southern California, nonetheless. Really not that far. So basically, that's when I got really. I was baking bread before. I was obviously working in pizza before, so dough and flour and all that kind of stuff was not totally, foreign to me. But I became an artisan baker working out there in the desert. So that's when I really
wait a second. Artisan baker.
Yes.
What does that mean versus just a baker?
So in California, there's actually a designation, and in order to be an artisan baker, you need to use at least 30% whole grains in your dough, and it basically is supposed to connect in this relatively informal way to baking traditions of the old world. Sourdough fermentation is a big part of that, but also there are tons of things that have more to do with tradition that really kind of connects the difference between somebody who just makes a loaf at home and somebody who, for a living, feeds people bread. There's a bit of a distinction.
There's also just a difference in technique too. You're working with whole milled flours or rye flour, things that are more volatile than the, bleached and enriched flours you get at the grocery store.
It's essentially rejecting modern baking tradition and going and kind of embracing more old world baking tradition, but having a lot more to do with breads that you'll be able to find, pre-industrial era, essentially, because since the advent of commercial yeast and enriched flours, baking has kind of totally molded into a totally different discipline.
So the two of you got together, and how did Sally come in?
So we started talking about this project together, and then Sally and I were just kind of checking in because we hadn't spoken in a little while.
Looks like someone wants to get into your restaurant.
The people can't stay away.
We have a closed restaurant today.
Can't stay away.
It's a closed restaurant.
A locked door barely deters them.
No, it doesn't at all.
Today's an off day.
Yeah.
Sally.
Yes.
So how did you come into this?
Jeremy and I were just catching up, during early COVID months. Jeremy had been furloughed. I was working in a restaurant in Oakland, and I had been furloughed. And we were just kind of catching up. And Jeremy told me that he was kind of thinking about doing this project and doing his own thing. And Jeremy and I grew up together in Seattle. So I watched Jeremy become a chef growing up, basically, and was always very inspired by it and started working in the food industry when I was 17, 18. And I always told Jeremy, when you do your own thing, I want to be a part of it. So it just kind of became this natural conversation where Jeremy was like, actually, I am doing my own thing now. And I'm starting to think about it. If you want to hop on the phone with me and my friend Tony, who's going to be a part of it as well. And then we just kind of all started talking on the phone once a week or so.
Yeah, you guys were fulfilling a childhood pact.
We were basically fulfilling a childhood pact of sorts.
We had a fourth member too, RIP.
RIP.
He's not dead.
No, he was just somebody who was on the phone with us for a while as well.
Well, no, that happens a lot with, this is definitely not the first time I have done a restaurant with some friends. In fact, it's the second time. And, you know how it is. Everything's really exciting at the beginning, and as things get more and more serious and more nitty gritty, people do tend to try to drop off.
Because it's hard work, and everybody has
it's thankless work,
time commitment,
right?
Yeah,
it's just committing to something that you don't know will ever succeed or come to fruition. It's almost, and I'll say this, you can quote me on this.
We're going to quote Tony on this.
I think the number one ingredient necessary to open a restaurant is naivete, because you really have to not know the shitstorm you're about to deal with. Sorry if I cursed.
That's okay.
Not to curse. But that is a huge part of it. Is if you were to know how much work, how much of your essence,
wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it. You
Right.
turn around and you do something easy, I don't know, something easier. I don't want to knock any other profession by just saying something off the
You can
cuff.
just use restaurant.
I mean, like real estate?
Well, yeah, like real estate. You go ahead, exactly. No, but it's like needless to say, we got involved and we were working on this kind of from we were kind of serious.
But you
about
all
it from the
bring
beginning.
something to this particular
Well, I think
table. I mean, you're a Pizziola.
Well, I wouldn't say
No?
necessarily. My background is more in fine dining.
Totally.
I've worked in 1-2 Michelin star restaurants around the world. I worked at 2 Michelin star restaurants in Sweden. They don't have Michelin.
in the kitchen as a chef or as a server?
In the kitchen as a chef.
Back of house,
Back of
always
house.
back of house.
Back of
Yeah,
house.
Jeremy's back of house.
So I worked, there. I traveled to Australia and worked in whatever the 3 hats there is there. I worked in some great restaurants around the world and really thought for a long time I wanted to do fine dining. And I worked a little bit in college for Roberta's in Brooklyn. Spent a summer working there. And that was kind of my first introduction to okay, you can have this fine dining quality product, but do it in a much more accessible way.
Casual.
In a casual way, yeah.
Was that how you learned how to make
And
a
I
pizza?
learned how to make pizza
In
at
this type of
Roberta's
oven, for sure.
on this type of oven. And then I worked in college actually at a pizza spot called American Flatbread in Middlebury, Vermont. And that was actually, I learned much more about dough and working a pizza line.
Yeah, Roberta's is
Pizza line
such a
setup.
beast that you pretty much have one job.
And
that
they had,
you do all
they had a
day.
wood fire oven. I was a baker on the wood fire oven at American Flatbread too, but they cook at a much lower temperature. It's a different style of pizza. But then I went back. I graduated school. I went and worked at a restaurant called Pinyon in Mexico. It's probably
That's the number one restaurant in Mexico City.
In Mexico City, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of other great restaurants there, but they
It's a
certainly
top
have the
restaurant.
most acclaimed.
They're very well.
Right.
They're very well-known.
Renowned. And then I kind of slowly became disillusioned with fine dining, and it's just not very accessible to that many people.
Well, to
from
poor
the price
people.
point perspective, from the price point perspective, and from a labor perspective too.
Totally.
It's incredibly demanding and consuming
And wasteful too.
and wasteful. Yeah, I mean, I think I worked at restaurants where every day you throw out everything you made that day and start fresh the next day. And it generates an incredibly consistent, high quality product, but the waste that's created in that process, I think, is a net negative.
But you three have kind of different disciplines
Totally.
that you bring into Pinyon.
Definitely.
And Sally, you bring in more of the wine.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Well, we were all talking on the phone, on Zoom all the time, and just kind of it was clear Tony would be in
It's like
charge
Google
of
Hangs.
dough. Google Hangs. We were on
Google
It wasn't
Hangs.
Zoom.
Yeah.
It was
That's
Google
not
Hangs.
my generation.
It was not
Well,
Zoom.
it's easy. It's all Gmail based.
And it was clear Jeremy was going to be running dinner program and menu. And so it was kind of at a certain point, I was like, well, what should my role be? And I had become pretty interested in natural wine. Living in the Bay Area, natural wine is really a big thing there.
Yeah.
A lot of the kind of people that really popularized importing natural wines from Europe, and a lot of cool natural winemakers live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's definitely the epicenter of natural
I
wine.
would say so.
In
yeah,
Bay Area?
It's
Yeah,
it's probably the best
absolutely.
place
Oh,
for
definitely.
natural wine.
The
And
bars, the
the restaurant I worked in Oakland.
SF in New York.
Now, wait a second. What is natural wine?
Great question. So natural wine has kind of an ambiguous definition.
It's a catch-all term.
It's
I'd
a
say.
catch-all term, but it really encompasses a philosophy of winemaking that is kind of similar to what Tony was saying about artisanal bread baking, that goes back to the earliest traditions of winemaking, where there were no additives, where grapes were picked by hand, labor was done manually, as little was done in the vineyard as possible.
And this
in
is the
terms of
vineyards that
intervention.
you seek out. You
These are
seek
the-
out these
yeah.
type of wine.
Yes.
Definitely.
So this is what the
this-
bottle shop is all
Yes,
about.
The bottle shop is
We're going
about,
to visit that in a
we
minute.
will. The bottle shop is all about low intervention winemaking. It's not just about on paper, are you following these specifications? It's more of a philosophy of I treat my land well, I have a sustainable relationship to farming and growing vines. A lot of the practices of natural wine have become associated with biodynamic farming, which treats your land as a living organism. So
Yeah,
if you're
related to
treating
permaculture.
if you're treating your land right, then the product is good. It's a lot of the farms in Ojai practice organic or biodynamic.
So is
as
this
well.
what brought you all to Ojai? Was the nature of Ojai and the fact that the
I
farmers
think we saw
are really
a
very
niche
keyed
here
in?
where we could be close to farmers and agriculture. I mean, I'd heard of Eric Hodge through this New York Times article about him as this local fisherman practicing these again, these old
ancient
sustainable
practice. And I think we saw an audience that was interested in, the farm to table movement here, but also a market where there weren't that many people talking about like what is available here, what incredible products there are to be had here, and bringing, these techniques to that ingredient.
Really, the access is definitely a big part of why Ojai was like, oh,
that's what drove you here.
Well, of course. How many places can you name off the top of your head where year round you're inundated with seasonal food?
Yeah.
There's proteins, there's fish from the water. The farms are second to none, especially in Santa Barbara County, Ventura County, everything around here, even all the way from Fillmore to Santa Paula, all the way up to Lompoc, for example. It's all farmland in between. These are
That's the sound of the refrigeration.
There we go. It's just one of those things where we were kind of shocked coming to town and expecting to see every restaurant serving food from the farms and couldn't really find it. It's we were kind of stumped a little bit.
So let me kind of backtrack a little bit. You guys were looking around Ojai.
We looked around a lot of places. We thought about Los Olivos, we thought about Palm Springs, we briefly flirted with the San Juan Islands, and Teutonia Disdain.
Too far.
And we settled on Ojai because we have family in Los Angeles and now family in Oxnard.
You have family in Ojai.
I have family in Ojai as well, yeah. I have two cousins here, actually. We wanted to be close to our families, but we didn't want to be in Los Angeles. We wanted to be in this space that we could, really connect with people, with our purveyors and with our customers.
And when you started to look around for locations, which was 2-3 years ago,
no less than that,
right?
We only really reached out to
2020.
You. Yeah, probably September of 2020.
Okay, and here we are in 2022. It's February, and you're open with this concept called Pinyon. How'd you come up with the name Pinyon?
Actually, my sister came up with it.
We spitballed a lot.
We had
what does Pinyon have to do with blackened pizza, great wine, and a wonderful kind of casual upscale menu?
So the name Pinyon itself is literally a mere marker for this geographical area. Mount Pinos, the Pinyon pine tree. That's one of the few, I'd say, physical, kind of plants or any sort of natural landmark that you can use to identify this area of the country. The Pinyon pine runs all the way through the Southwest and through Southern California. And that kind of was the basis of why we chose the name, was more or less, we wanted it to feel regional. We wanted to also feel pretty, I don't want to say generic, but something that people didn't already have a strong relationship to the word. And then also just wanted it to be fun. It seems
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. And it seemed like it just made sense. Like, does it have anything to do with pizza? Like, absolutely not. Does it have anything to do with the region? Totally.
I think the best restaurants I've worked in are a reflection of the place where they're in.
Exactly.
And I think Pinyon being this tree, it does tie into, our wood-fired pizza
100%.
Concept and our wine philosophy, which is all the wines we sell are reflections of their terroir and where they're grown. So our whole thing is like, how can we be situated in this place that we're in? And Pinyon became a good moment for that. And then the frog.
Well, who came up with the frog?
John
Anthony. Shouts out.
Who's John?
John Anthony is
a
dear friend of ours, who did
excellent designer.
Actually really fantastic designer. He's also done Tilda in Los Angeles, and now Pachetti, their new restaurant.
They're doing a bunch. John's killing it.
And they did what is it called?
It's a shout out for John.
Shout out for John.
Excellent designer.
Designer, architect, and they did our first branding package along with two of our friends, Kyrie and Remy. And
they just wanted to help us out. Really didn't charge us much, and they kind of took our first stab at like what our brand identity would be, what our visual identity would be.
But they drew this frog, and we just fell in love with the frog and the font, actually. So
is there a Pinyon pine frog?
There absolutely is.
The Baja California tree frog.
So there is a correlation.
Totally, and it was even
there's two stories we tell.
The branding is really unique.
I hope so.
Well,
that's
is
the goal. I mean, it's also supposed. I mean, and this is something maybe that I brought to the table a little more, where I was kind of sick of the really tongue-in-cheek, kind of like punny restaurant thing that
my least favorite restaurant
happening.
name is this and that. There's so many this and that's.
And there's just so much of that going on. I was like, can we please bring something a little more refreshing?
What were the other ideas? Manna?
There was a few. I feel like we had 100 ideas.
Yes.
There was so many. And
that's what happens.
never
People
been short on
spitball
ideas.
ideas all the
Yeah.
time, and then you settle in. And was it the three of you that said it's got to be unanimous, or did Sally say, "I want Pinyon"? You guys,
there was
it had to
definitely
be a
moments
united
where
group.
2 were in and 1 was out, and we
we
scrapped
had a
it.
Zoom or a GA hang where we each had to come with 3 concept names, and Pinyon was one of the ones that Jeremy brought via Emily.
Okay, so
agreed.
I'm getting the high sign from my producer who's saying we got to go take a break right now. So that's what we're going to do
Break in 2 minutes.
in 2 minutes. All right. Well, very quickly, tell me how the money came about. How did the deal come about? Because that's a really important element in the restaurant business. I got great ideas, but how am I going to get the money?
I mean, the funding is a huge part of this whole.
You only had so
puzzle.
much budget.
Well, of course, we are more people powered than we are capital powered as a business on the whole, I'd say. I think that our greatest assets that we had leading up to this, along with naivete, like I mentioned, was enthusiasm, and wanting to create something that was friendly in the pandemic business sense, and was friendly in a sustainable business sense, and was friendly. And part of that for us was not being overcapitalized, really. And so, we basically reached out to everyone we knew.
Friends and family.
Exclusively. And then there was a handful of people who heard about what we were doing and reached out about helping fund.
They want to be part of it.
Oh, definitely.
One of our biggest investors is a couple who recently bought a home here in Ojai and wanted to support something popping up in their backyard, and
with values that they share.
Exactly. And they really aligned with our political values or sustainability values, and also we're just excited about the brand. And because
you were doing pop-ups and we were doing
drops, basically. We really didn't pop up at all, besides that one calzone event we did, but we were basically
we popped up in Philadelphia. We did
pop-ups in Philadelphia. It's true.
Yeah.
But in town here, we were basically doing drops, which is we took pre-orders on our website, and then
so basically we used that first year of doing delivery as kind of a proof of concept. So while we were fundraising, we were showing people this is the product we want to produce. This is
you created some excitement. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And that led us to some funding through friends and family, and all in all, we opened this place for $250,000, and everyone was like, "You're never going to get open for less than $500,000." We were like, "Bet, let's do it." So
you took over an old Jersey Mike's.
We did
the town of Ojai was happy about.
We did a lot of work ourselves. We did a lot of tiling, ceiling tile, painting, baseboard. We did as much physical construction as we could.
It's the sweat equity, basically. About half. Honestly, probably we could have paid if we would have just wanted to sit in an office somewhere and pay someone to do this. It probably would have cost twice as much. But since we did all the legwork ourselves, the permitting, loading in these subcontracting.
That's how restaurants get built, man.
We did it all by ourselves. There was not a single aspect of this that we didn't see through. This wasn't even the restaurant. We designed it ourselves. So, we did all of this with all of our own know-how. Obviously, so many advisors and friends and colleagues helped us along the way. Old bosses, old coworkers, friends and family. My father-in-law had a business friend that he knew who grew up going to the Valley Inn, who had some insights about Ojai, and was, everybody kind of had their fingerprints on it.
All of the capital, though, and all of the work that was done to build and construct this place, and our relationship with you, Will, has always been through family.
Right.
I think I think it's funny because our branding, I think, is sleek and looks attractive, and sometimes people are like, "Oh, this is some group from LA," but it's like, no, we are 3 people who came together in Ojai.
For the good of the community.
Yeah, there's no consultants here. There's no design group, design firm here. There was no. It's we basically cobbled this all together with our own sweat and tears.
We're going to take a break right now. We're going to go look at the menu after this.
Awesome.
And call it a day.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Thanks, Will.
Mr. Restaurant is a tasty new segment on The Jeremiah Show. Host Will Knox, renowned restaurant real estate specialist, serves up a fresh look at the restaurant business. On the menu, celebrity chefs, startups, operators, deal makers, designers, and those are just some of the appetizers. Look for all of Mr. Restaurant shows. Tell your smart speaker to play The Jeremiah Show, Mr. Restaurant.
Hi, I'm Shadow Stevens. While I'm doing this and that and the other thing at the very same time, I'm having a great time on The Jeremiah Show, the greatest show in the history of the world. For the love of God, subscribe. No, seriously, subscribe.
Welcome, Los Angeles. The Jeremiah Show is now on Radio Candy Radio. Discover a world of emotions, your digital radio. The Jeremiah Show airs 10 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. RadioCandyRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Marielle Hemingway, and you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
Okay, I'm live. I'm back with the big three at Pinyon, Ojai. So, Tony, you said something to me just a while ago that you wanted to talk about. You wanted to get something off your chest.
Well, not exactly, but I feel like it doesn't need to get off my chest as much, but...
I mean, do I have to have a tat and I don't have a tat?
Maybe.
Is that what you...
We have the artist coming with the machine. So. No, I think that's something that I think kind of connects the circle a little bit on this whole project is that we try to prioritize the workers here. We pay everybody a fair wage. We started $20 an hour, and we are implementing a profit share based on, obviously hopefully having profits quarter over quarter. I think that's something that has been kind of missing from a lot of the restaurants that we all know and love, and a lot of places we've all worked, and something that we kind of, three of us agree that we kind of carry around with us is, working at a place that does prioritize the people who actually make it run every day.
How many people are on payroll?
9.
Okay.
Maybe.
And you're open from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, but we're here every day. So it takes this whole week to make Thursday through Sunday happen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, today.
All 9 of you?
No, it's mostly just me and Jeremy here the first half of the week. Sally obviously comes and goes and does all the wine inventory and wine ordering from home and all that kind of stuff. But everyone is here every day that we're open, the same team from start to finish, right? So nobody really gets, it's kind of like, that's how we hired it, so that you can be here for every service that we have week over week and really know.
And be benevolent.
Sure, and just know what's going on here all the time. We pay everyone at the same wage because we kind of expect that everyone's going to want to have ownership over their work here. And I think that a big part of what I kind of like to communicate about this is that we are just trying to take really good care of ourselves and each other working here.
Well, you've got a family. You just started.
Of course. And we are all family here.
Right.
And even the people who work here, my brother works here as well. He moved out here to come help us. And I think it's lost on a lot of people. Like, are the people that are serving me, that are cooking for me, that are doing these things for me, are they being paid fairly? Do they have a living wage? Can they afford to live here in the place where rent is really expensive? And also, what role do restaurants play in the obligation to make sure they provide those things for the people who work for them?
Our answer to that question would be they play a huge role.
100%.
We are a locus of community in the sense that we put money into the pockets of farmers who work here, but people who also live in this community. And I think those questions of like, how much is my server being paid? Is this restaurant giving people a viable lifestyle here? I don't think those are a huge part of the national restaurant conversation, but they should be. They should be at the front of it because we've seen this pandemic where the highest mortality rate of any profession is line cooks.
Was line cook,
and we're in a very precarious world in service where a lot of people, are expecting to go back to the same world of service that they had before, but that was rife with inequality, and we are trying to do our part to make it a more sustainable option for the future. So when we talk about is Pinyon scalable for the future or add to the long-term viability, it's like our answer to that is we want to create an environment that people want to work in.
But also
and that
inhabit as a consumer.
Yes. Well, yes, that's as nurturing. We like to say we want our business to be as nurturing to our customers as it is to the people who work for us. And I think that's the long-term sustainability goal, because I think gone are the days when you are a restaurant that can just turn and burn through people, keep no institutional knowledge, constantly be wasting money on retraining, and trying to do something.
And also just, leaning into the exploitative aspect of restaurant work, where it's like you burn people out so they can't do it anymore. And then when they leave, you just replace them with someone just as green behind the ears, who has no idea what they're about to get themselves into. Everyone else around them knows that that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, but you have more of an empathetic
the 20 an hour includes us. We don't make more than everyone else who works here.
And you have no tips.
On an hourly, we make less.
See, tips are.
So this is also something
you're not a tip-driven restaurant.
We're service charge-driven restaurant. So
service charge.
So we should talk about the difference between service charge and gratuity.
Yeah,
gratuity is an optional addition that a customer adds to a bill.
Right.
That's not what a service charge is. A service charge is a 20% charge that allows us to buy higher quality ingredients, pay people a higher wage, and to pay, honestly, rising overhead costs in this landscape where supply chains are still disrupted, where rent is higher than it ever has been. The 20% is kind of like an insurance for us that also, we believe the customer should provide in order to have the quality of experience that we.
Well, there's service charges on all of our invoices from everyone who delivers products here. So
if I come in here and say I want to play,
it's like it's so funny that the service charge is new to the restaurant industry in America. When one, it's been a long-standing tradition in Europe and around the world, and two, there's service charges on almost every
bill you have.
Yeah, there's a service charge.
Has there been pushback from people on
a little bit? People just needing clarity about it. Wanting to know, should I tip? Do I not tip?
And we have messaging online about it. We have messaging immediately next to the register. We try to be as transparent as we possibly can.
That's a relatively new model, particularly for a small town like Ojai.
Definitely.
Okay.
Sure, but it's also, I think, very traditional in a lot of ways as well, because it's so funny. Sometimes people are like, oh, there's an automatic 20%. It's like, well, what if I don't want to do that? And you're like, well, that's why it's automatic, because we're not giving you the option any longer.
So I come in and I buy a hoagie for $13.
Well,
then you're tacking on the 20% on top of that.
So actually,
and I walk out the door with plus 20.
Well, the way it works right now, because right now we're kind of in flux on all this, is that if you're dining in at night, 20% service charge is added on. If you're getting takeout, it's 10% service charge through our website. Right now for lunch, we actually just run a tip line because we're kind of still playing with what people are looking for. How do we implement this correctly? Pretty soon, we're going to run the dinner menu all day and all night, and then we'll probably just uniformly add that 20% to everybody. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be realistic. We're trying to be flexible. We're trying to meet people where they're at. But frankly, if we wanted to, we could just add it to the prices and make everything more expensive and then say, here, we'll take a tip from you and you'll pretty much pay more. Or what I like to explain to folks is that even after you get your gratuity here, our prices will be about the same as every other restaurant. And guess what? They still expect you to tip on top of that. At least our tips included, so you don't feel obligated to tip more. I won't name any names, but, very similar scale restaurants around town, dollar by dollar, exact same price system as we have, except they're not offering a livable wage. They're not offering a profit share.
They're not buying ingredients.
They're not buying ingredients from the valley. They're buying everything they get off the Cisco truck.
And that's what sets you apart.
100%. Even if you're paying a couple bucks more, you're getting this experience that truly isn't offered to you from any of these other restaurants who are buying mass-produced factory farmed meat or produce grown nowhere near Ojai, or paying people such a low wage that they need to go get a second job in order to make ends meet. It's like we're really trying to eliminate that aspect of the restaurant industry through having a positive practice, rather than kind of shaming people who do things that way or making people feel bad or weird about not doing things the way we do them. It's mostly us trying to offer the carrot. You can't offer a slightly more livable wage. You can offer food that is grown here in the valley and goes directly into the pockets of people who live here are from here and
But
are
you do
reinvesting
need
in
to
the
call the
community.
customer into that process.
100%. You need a little bit more buy-in from the customer who knows, is my tips included? And that's because X, Y, and Z. Now, like I said, it's no cheaper to eat anywhere else. It's all very expensive because the cost of goods here, the cost of living here, rent here, the supply chain, everything's very expensive for small businesses right now. So to me, all it really does by eliminating gratuity and making it more about service charge is that it puts it on us to pay fairly. We can't say, oh, we had some stingy customers today, so you guys don't make as much money, even though you did just as much hard work.
Yeah.
That to me feels like a cop-out, and it feels like it needs to be on the shoulders of these business owners to provide a livable wage rather than blame it on cheap customers that people didn't make as much money. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And it's also, I think, the new wave and the new age of what's happening in the restaurant business. And here in Ojai, there's a renaissance in the
100%.
restaurant business, and you guys are the forefront of that.
Totally.
And there's a lot of competition for the restaurant dollar in a small town of 7,000 people that inflates on the weekends, Thursday through Sunday.
Totally.
It's a tourist-driven economy.
Yeah.
So you have to be an attraction of food. You have to be an attraction of pricing. You have to have good people. You seem to have it all together, but it's still a struggle to keep it going. And if you don't, then it's one less attraction for the town. And then the town says, well, I don't want to come here anymore because there's not that much to do.
Well, plus, as you've seen, there's this labor shortage, right?
It's
That
all
a lot of
intertwined.
people want to talk about.
Right.
And the truth is it needs to be appealing to work in a restaurant, or else no one's you can make way more money doing way less work in other fields than restaurant work.
Yeah.
So in order to create an appealing environment that's fun, that's well paid, that keeps people healthy, that prioritizes the needs of the workers.
Where you're learning and growing as an individual and have creative expression, all of these things that make work a fulfilling thing.
Yeah, to me, that feels like the only way restaurants are going to be able to keep employees around. So, like, even though we might be one of the first, one of the few doing it, trust me, in a very short amount of time, it's going to be the industry standard because there's really no other way to go for workers that want to stay in this industry.
And honestly, then we'll be ahead of the game. Like it was like when minimum wage moved to $15, all these restaurants complaining about having to raise their wages. And it's like, actually, if you just pay people a fair wage, which obviously 15 is not enough anymore, then you're not playing catch up 5 years
It's
later.
not sustainable.
But over time, you spend less money on training, you spend less money on retention.
Right.
And you build all this institutional knowledge. Like we're 3 months in and have the same core crew, and like now we are able to do so much more for the business because we have trained these people so well, and they can run aspects of the business that we had to be more.
And they can go to bed at night knowing we have their best interest, knowing the business has their best interest at heart, not just seeing them as a body that can come perform some menial tasks.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to break right now.
Awesome.
We're going to come right back.
Awesome, great.
Excuse me, don't be missing me. Mississippi, Dipper, make him happy, make him copy, make him get me chippy.
That's a lot I'm gon' spend. Tell me when I beam you to pull up, you gon' shoot out while I spin.
Tripping like I'm trigger happy, soul fish. Aki, go buggy, Kawasaki, catch a fish. Sushi, maki, living like London City, left the town.
Welcome, Somerset, England. The Jeremiah Show is now on Core Radio. Keep on rocking to the core. Core Radio. The Jeremiah Show airs at 10 p.m. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. CoreRadio.rocks.
Hey there, I'm Caleb.
I'm Becca.
And I'm Joshua.
And we are Girl Named Tom. Go to girlnamedtom.com to hear more of our music, buy merchandise, and learn about our story. You're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
You've been listening to The Jeremiah Show. I am Miles Zuniga from Fastball.
Hey, this is Tim. And this is Christian. We're L1011.
Hi, this is Ron Sexsmith on The Jeremiah Show.
And we're back with The Jeremiah Show.
are back with Jeremy, Sally, Anthony, also known as Tony. Big Tone. So listen, thank you very much for doing this with me today. This is great. Mr. Restaurant goes all over, but this is really my hometown. And I'm curious as to what you think Ojai ultimately will bring to you long run, and are you happy? Are you getting the vibe?
Totally. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Ojai will give to us long run is
I'll speak on this because this is actually particularly poignant for me, only because I have a young daughter at home. Yeah. My wife and I are starting a family here. She was 6 months pregnant when we moved here, and we really wanted to land someplace that not only we could see ourselves long term, but also that felt like it could be a two-way street in terms of nourishment and understanding and community. And something that I really do, the longer I'm here, respect about Ojai, is that people want the details. People want to know what's going on. People want the nitty gritty. People want to know where you're coming from, where you're going, what's going on. And frankly, if you're an open person and you're willing to be transparent and honest, that's an amazing thing. But if you're sketchy and you're shady and you don't want people to know your background or you have secrets, it would kind of weed you out. You can't really last in the community like this if you're not willing to be open and upfront and really transparent about what your goals are. And so that to me, just kind of spoke to the authenticity of a place that people actually care about what's going on here. And sure, there's gossip and there's all this other stuff that kind of happens that, is any small town, any small town, any town. But also what I think on the long term, what Ojai can offer us and what we can offer Ojai is just to kind of change the conversation based around what does a restaurant do besides make money, right?
What does it provide?
It provides a higher quality of life. Ojai, this town, this valley is providing us with such an incredible quality of life and, not only the
resources.
Of course. I mean, I always imagine being a child that grows up in Ojai and comes into Pinyon and sees everything that is on the menu comes from a farm that they can see at the farmer's market every week. And they can grow up and say, I can be a farmer here. I can grow up and I can take care of the land here. And I know that can be a fruitful way for me to make money and make a living and make. How many places could you say that about? Agriculture has gone in such a different direction on how we operate in general. I think it's just important to realize that when we keep the loop really kind of a closed loop here, everything we get is from here in the valley. The people we serve obviously are always here in the valley.
You all are very united on this. Sally, you're in on this.
Tony. I think that's what drew us together more so.
That's the glue of this whole thing.
Is our shared political ideology. And I think Ojai is such a microcosm of so many things happening in this country, whether it's the climate crisis. We're so at the whim of the climate here. We saw just last night in this windstorm how much that affects this town. And we're so affected by these labor shortages here. All of these things are coming together in this small town. And we get to be such a big part of the conversation in this space. And that's a huge honor and privilege. And we want to elevate the quality of life for everyone else here, whether you work for us or you come.
Totally. I mean, it's one of those things where it feels good to see people enjoy this the way we meant to. Yeah. And it
feels good to talk about it.
Extremely rewarding to just experience people understanding what we're going for.
Do you see more Pinyons out there, or is it another concept you guys would like to do? Or
I don't know.
Did you develop this to make it scalable?
There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways we.
Is it dependent on you guys, and if you guys aren't here, that another person can be hired? I mean, if it's scalable, it should be able to go anywhere, anytime.
I think right now we're focused on making this Pinyon, this restaurant, as successful as it can be.
I think that's very wise.
And then we will think about scaling up as we go on. I mean, obviously we have dreams. There's other towns that are
very romantic
to
think in those terms.
Sure, but if I'm setting up shop here and this is where I'm going to be, so it's, I would always, I always am envious as well of the places that just are frozen in time and are in one place
and that are neighborhood
don't need to be
restaurants.
expanding.
They're pillars of their communities. And I think unless we intend to be a pillar of another community, we wouldn't open up in that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Love to be the point where we're handing the reins over to employees and letting them become part of the ownership structure so that we can move on to other ventures and so on. But in reality, it's mostly going to be about experiencing what this is like.
Right.
A year, 2 years, 3 years. It's going to it will change shape as time goes on, I feel like. And mostly just being able to have enough self-awareness and communication between us all that we're able to kind of like accommodate what wants to happen rather than trying to force what we think.
Well, it's very clear to me as a consumer that your passion is really in your execution, because you execute beautifully. Some people come here for bagels. Some people come here for the hoagie. Some people come here for the plates. Some people certainly come here for the pizza.
The wine.
You know, the wine is fantastic. You know, it's unique. For a quick service spot.
Totally.
And this was a former Jersey Mike's.
True.
You convert it into a really casual dining, grab and go, sit down, be a pillar of the community. Yes. You're on the 50-yard line.
And it didn't cost millions of dollars either.
No, you were smart
about it. It's very
about
reasonable and very aware of what's going on right now.
And what's the best way that people can really find you?
Totally. The best way I think you can find us is in person here, 423 East Ojai Avenue. Come on in. We love when people look at our online handles at Pinyon Ojai on Instagram. It's great to browse the feed and message us there, but we want you to come in here and experience this and sit down and have the full experience of getting a bottle of wine, pizza, and some plates. And then your next morning in Ojai, hopefully you've enjoyed our product enough to come in and get a bagel on your way out of town.
Yeah, nothing beats the real thing.
Yeah.
Just come in and say, hey,
And for us, nothing beats people who come in.
Your hours again are
Thursday through Sunday, 11 to 3 for daytime service and 4 through 9 for pizza.
Great. And then if I want a bottle of wine, what do I do?
All day long.
All day long.
Pop on in.
Come on in.
I can grab and go.
You can grab and go. We have that sort of license.
You have a license that you can.
We have an on and off site license.
Yeah.
So
plus, all of our wine is much cheaper when you take it to go.
Yeah.
Another opportunity to find us locally in the next month is March 14th. We are doing a party at the Deer Lodge in Ojai.
It's a concert.
It's a concert.
Ticketed event.
It's a ticketed event. We are selling pizza while very cool band.
Wait a second. So I'm old school. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not an old guy. I'm a little wiser, but I'm old school. Ticketed event.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Explain that a little bit.
Well, that's not our. So essentially, the Deer Lodge is doing a concert on a Monday.
Okay.
The kitchen's typically closed,
Got
so they invited us to come.
Deer Lodge being one of the oldest joints in
They
Ojai.
invited us to come and sell pizza there for the event as more like a little partnership.
Yes.
It's kind of something we're doing for fun, but you'll see a lot more of that from us as it gets a little warmer and we start to get our stuff together a little more.
This is really the field I think we're growing the most in is catering events.
Catering, offsite events. Yeah. The brewery wants us to pop up. People want us to pop up all over the place. So I think it'll be something you'll be able to enjoy elsewhere.
So you have a wood fire wagon. You have a wood fire.
Absolutely.
Kitchen. Got it.
Yeah, we're available for
we can take
caterers.
the show on the road.
Yeah, we do weddings, we do parties, we do all sorts of stuff. And all that information is on our website, pinyonohai.com. And you can always send us an email.
So you could do my 30th birthday party.
Yeah, we sure could.
Great.
Both of them.
Fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to take a break right now.
Awesome. Sounds great.
I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence. But I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. But it's on the table, the fire's cooking, and the farming babies of the slaves are all working. And it's on the table, the mouths are choking, but I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry.
Check out Jeremiah's top 10 new artist picks on Radio India Alliance each week. The Radio India Alliance is a chart service that allows indie recording artists an opportunity to have chart placements. We don't charge. We support RadioIndiaAlliance.com.
Hi everybody, this is Ann Heach.
Hey everybody, I'm Art Alex Hux from the band Everclear.
My name's Danny Trejo.
And you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
Jeremiah, you're loved, Holmes.
Do you need help with your restaurant or hospitality business? See how we can help your business at hjlrestaurantadvisors.com.
Hey, this is Jeff Skunk Baxter. Please open your heart and reach out to a veteran and let them know, number one, that they are loved and respected. You won't give up if they don't give up. And you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
Okay, I'm live. I'm back with Jeremy at Pinyon, Ojai. Look at the menu while Jeremy talks about the product.
Okay, we're open Thursday through Sunday. From 11 to 3, we do daytime service, which consists of Philly-style hoagies, sourdough bagels, grab-and-go snacks, and the wine shop is open all day. And then at dinner, we are open 4 through 9 p.m., and our menu is right here. The menu rotates pretty, at least once a week. We're taking a dish on and adding something new. The pizzas, we have 4 at a time, and they'll be around for about, the only things that have been on the menu the entire time are the Margaritaville pizza and the Caesar salad, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which are our best sellers. Yeah, I think everything else is...
The Pinyon was on when we opened and we just put it back
It's
on.
come off and come on. So sometimes things come back as they become seasonally available again. Like when we opened, it was kind of the end of the broccolini season from last year, and now we're getting into the beginning of this. This pizza came back on the menu when the product became seasonally available. We don't order any produce that's not from Ojai or carpentry or stone property in this general Central Valley. And yeah, what else to say? We have a rotating selection of seasonal plates, a lot of fresh stuff. We try to have one salad on the menu, a couple cold vegetable dishes, a warm vegetable dish, and then all the protein we use is also locally sourced. So we have the Sicilian sashimi, we call it, on the menu, which is a raw vermilion rockfish that comes from Eric Hodge. It's butchered in a traditional Japanese style called ikejime, which means that when the fish is caught, they insert a nail into its brain and it kills the fish immediately. And so the fish doesn't struggle at all. So it's not only more humane because the fish is killed instantaneously, but when fish are bludgeoned, which is how fish are killed in modern American fisheries, they release a lot of cortisol into their flesh. Basically, these stress enzymes cook the fish from the inside. So it doesn't stay fresh for as long. It has that fishy flavor we think of. But this is super clean, almost odorless, and it allows the fish to be preserved for a long time. So then we take a dry aging technique, which is, what we think of dry aging mostly for meat, for beef in this country, but people have been dry aging fish for thousands of years in Japan, and it's a style of sushi called edamame. It's the most traditional style of sushi. So we're dry aging this fish for 7 to 10 days, and then it gets served with this kind of classic Italian-American garnish that's inspired by a restaurant called Swan Oyster Depot in San Francisco. That's capers, red onion, and then we grate some fresh horseradish over it. So it's a deceptively simple presentation of a dish that takes 10 days from start to finish to prepare. And a lot of our stuff is like that. Our lamb meatball as well comes from a shepherdess in town named Cole, and she uses these animals to clear brush to prevent forest fires in the Topa Mountains. And then we buy her lamb from her, and We buy half lambs at a time, and then I break down half of the lamb for ground lamb sausage that we make into meatballs, the leg, the rack, the loin, the saddle, and then the other half, the shoulder, the neck, and some of the tougher cuts, the shanks, all get braised and go in a like kind of barbacoa style lamb sandwich during the day. So we're using the whole animal, we're using the bones for lamb stock to make our soup for the day. You know, we're trying to utilize the fish bones as well, we roast to make dashi. So we're trying to utilize as much of these amazing local products as we can.
It's just not a pizza joint.
More than just a pizza joint, I would say. But our pizza is also excellent, and our dough is a 3-day fermentation process. So, you know, sometimes people are like, when we were first opening, we were selling out pizza, and people were like, just make more pizza. It's like, it's not as easy as that, you know? Our dough is a process to make. These ingredients are only seasonally available. So, you know, we kind of like the idea of someone falling in love with the dish and then having to come get it next year. You know, the chanterelle season was like 2 weeks in Southern California because there was like only a week of rain. And when something is done, it's done. And it moves on. There's kind of a romance to that of like, we really are moving with what is seasonally available, and we're not going to go out of our way to get an ingredient.
Well, I think that's what makes Pinyon very unique, because it's really a quick service restaurant that's high quality.
Yeah.
It's Michelin quality. Now, you know, I'm not a Michelin star judge, but I would say your quality of food is first rate, and it's at an affordable price point as opposed to going in and sitting at a fine dining restaurant.
Yeah, I think a big inspiration for them is there's a restaurant called Superiority Burger in New York, and his whole concept is to buy the best produce and serve it at the lowest price possible. And ours, similarly, you know, we're working with ingredients that we could be marking up 4 or 5 times because the quality is so high and we're putting so much interesting technique in it, but we want it to be affordable to anyone, whether you're a teenager who wants to get one pizza, share with some friends for $15, or you want to spend $200 and order the whole menu and get
Are people getting that message?
I think, well, whether they're getting the message or not, we have such a varied clientele of people who are coming in, you know, for a grab-and-go sandwich, a pretzel and a Coke, or whatever.
I was really bummed out the other day. I saw on your Instagram feed that you had a lamb meatball hoagie.
Yes.
And I couldn't get in here. And I thought, oh, I'll come in the next day, but it was gone.
But we only have so much, so we have half a lamb a week. So once that half a lamb is consumed, we get one the next week and break it down. And it's kind of like this is our prep day, and it's like a great way for us to start the week because we receive all our produce today. We look at what the menu is going to be for the week, and then we execute it, and then the next week we start anew. And that's kind of, for me as a chef, what is so engaging about this product is like it's constantly changing. You know, I used to get so bored as
a consumer. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But now let me ask you a question. Does this mean that this concept could be scalable? And we'll sit down at the table. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We're going to walk over now to the wine shop with Sally. And Sally's going to tell us a little bit about those bottles. Let's do it.
This is our wine shop, cave, nook. Recently has a new sign. And yeah, we have this weird little, excuse the noise of the fridge.
Some people might call this the wine nook.
Yeah, that's what we have always called it, because when we signed the lease here, we saw this strange little nook and thought, what the hell do we do with this? And it's perfect for a wine shop, although it can be a bit hidden at times, but it is here. We have our wine fridge, which I'll turn the lights on for, and yeah, so
what's in the wine fridge?
What's in the wine fridge is anything and everything that should be served cold. So, Pinyon, we offer wine by the glass every night. I'll put probably 4 bottles on the glass list every night, and then we always have a draft wine that we buy a keg of from these cool people up in Paso who are doing biodynamic winemaking up there, which is pretty uncommon for the area. They're called Ameth.
So do you stay more central coast and don't go south like Temecula, any of that area?
So we don't
stay right kind of in this world?
No, not really. So California wines, the only wines from Southern California, Central California right now we are sourcing are from Ameth, who's up in Paso. The rest of our California wine selection is up north in the Bay Area, where a lot of the cool like organic farming is happening for winemakers up in Mendocino, Sonoma. And I'd say right now, most of our wine is not Californian. We're actually, today I'm waiting on a shipment of a bunch of wine from these 2 different producers in California. At any given time, I'd like for about 30 to 50% of the wine in our shop to be sourced from California, but there's also a ton of amazing imported natural wine that I buy from these really cool small importing companies that are mostly like based out of the Bay Area, but they have branches down here and they're pretty much only in California. Yeah, because natural wine is a old tradition. It comes from Georgia, where winemaking started, and those practices were first.
Georgia.
It's in the country.
The country of Georgia.
The country,
not the state of Georgia.
I mean, I think we all know that the U.S. has a really complicated history with winemaking because of Prohibition. And wine is originally from Europe, so a lot of natural winemaking practices were, they were all started in Europe, and then a lot of them have been adopted in France and Italy. A lot of people have made natural wine forever, but it only became kind of this popularized thing not too long ago, just in terms of a winemaking process without additives, winemaking process that is has integrity to the land and to where the wine is coming from, like planting grapes that are indigenous, et cetera, et cetera. So all of the wines that I buy come from producers that, have this sense of respect to the land they farm, to the area where the wine is made. They let the wine ferment on its own, they let it salt on its own, to be a true representation of where the wine is made from, who it's being made by.
Do you have a favorite here? All these bottles that are here.
Of all of these bottles,
is there one that's, hey, Will, you should come in and get this?
I mean, I think it really
The labels
depends.
are fabulous. Can we get some of these labels and really come in tight? And some of these, they're really fabulous artwork.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I love all of the wines I buy. I think that question kind of depends on what kind of wine you like. But I really like super acidic, kind of slightly skin contact white wines. And so that one that the camera just focused on with the goat on it, Bourgogne Aligoté, is one of my favorites right now. It's like super salty, acidic. It's Aligoté, which was historically a grape that was like thought of as too acidic to really use on its own.
I just know what I like and I don't like. And if it's too tannic, it's not for me.
I don't really. I would say most of our red wines are not very tannic. So there's this gap here because I'm expecting to receive all this California wine today, and so I made this little gap to put more wine in.
Very cool.
And we don't have a ton of storage, but we have a pretty large wine program considering what we do have.
Well, you hold and then you sell it and then you just replenish it.
Yeah, right? But to be buying, so natural wine, kind of the way Jeremy's talking about seasonal produce is like, these wines are made and then they're gone. Like I can't just restock an individual wine. Like they're constantly changing. Like every week I'm buying new wine because natural wine, part of like having a sustainable relationship to farming is farming small amounts, not having huge like industrial agricultural practices around winemaking. And so a lot of these producers make pretty small quantities, and so I get them and then I can't get it again until
that's
next
what makes
year.
it more fun to come to Pinyon.
And it's really fun for me. I'm always learning about new wine. I mean, tasting new cuvées from different producers that I know of, and just like getting to hear these stories about like where their families are from and like their family history of winemaking. Like a lot of these producers I was introduced to in the last few months, and then tasted the wines, heard about what they were doing, and thought, okay, I'll buy it for Pinyon. So it's really been fun, and the wine is, we like to think it's like affordably priced for what it is. We don't really do like a traditional pricing model that you would get at like a fine dining restaurant for these wines. So, and we have a retail price as well. We are a bottle shop as well as a restaurant that serves wine.
And are people getting hip to that? That they're coming in and saying, I can just get a bottle and go, or a slice, let's say.
Yeah, I think like more and more in the last month especially, that's kind of becoming more of knowledge. So word is spreading. It's good stuff. We're going to start wine
That's the best
club.
advertising is word of mouth.
I mean, in Ojai especially, it's all about word of mouth.
Watch Mr. Restaurant on the Jeremiah Show.
Thank you, all three
Will,
of you.
thank you.
Thank you.
for having us.
Since you left, I've been a little crooked, upside down, inside out, swing around on a jungle gym. I try to shake the pain. It's useless to place blame, but I do it anyway. I've realized I prefer my dreams to reality. I've got a handful of people concerned for my sanity. Still, I dream of you. Every night you're in my bed, I swear I hear your footsteps creeping in. I feel your warm breath on my neck. I know you're here, a troubled mind enhanced with wine. I see your shadow inside the trees. Come and say hi. I'm lonely at times ever since you left my side. I've realized I prefer my dreams to reality. Still, I dream I'm with you. Every night you're in my bed, I swear I hear your footsteps creeping in. I feel your warm breath on my neck. I know you're here, so what? If I'm out of touch, a little wild, spider wine every night in the sunshine. Tulips with teeth sing to me. They pray at the place where I gave your eulogy. And wild boar, dig up the soil as I laugh from afar, because every night I'm with you. We travel through the stars, rainbow bridges to the moon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Every night I'm with you. Every night I'm with you.
Hi, this is comedian Maz Jobrani, and you are listening to the Jeremiah Show. Listen, man.
Did you like our soundtrack? Find all of our soundtracks on Spotify. The Jeremiah Show. Look for the Black Label. As always, a big thanks to Dr. D for making our voices come alive on the airwaves, and to our station manager, Les Carroll, for letting us on the air at all. Be sure to check out our very own Richard Dugan, a.k.a. Dr. D, Peabody Award-nominated radio show, Tell Me Your Story, every Sunday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Listeners, we appreciate you and want to hear from you. Please send us your ideas at jeremiah@thejeremiahshow.com or on Messenger, on Facebook, or Instagram. The Jeremiah Show is produced by executive producer Jeremiah Higgins and sound and engineer producer Richard Dr. D. Dugan, and me, your announcer, Tony Kelly. Communicate, listen more, and evolve.
I'ma put my guns in the ground.
This is Miles Copeland. Yeah, I just had the honor of speaking to the Jeremiah Show. Who would have believed that little old me would have the opportunity to speak on such a prestigious show? And they even talked about my book, 2 Steps Forward, 1 Step Back, My Life in the Music Business. So it was a great pleasure to be on that show, the Jeremiah Show.
I love you.